Hello fellow FPL manager and welcome to another video where we're looking back at game week 3, having a look at my team and then looking forward towards game week 4. Having a look at the predictions I made last week and looking at who I think are the players to avoid, pick and take a risk on for game week 4. So if you do follow me on Twitter, you will know I have activated my wildcard. I did make a video after game week 2 saying that I felt that was a little bit early, but I put all the pros and cons on it, and I always say, and that was the first point I made on that video, you should always play a wild card when you think you need that wild card. And if I actually show you the team that I've currently got, you're gonna probably think that you won't notice any big changes because I am keeping my big players right now because, to be honest, they are actually playing really well. I'm getting points from Salah, Sterling, De Bruyne, so they're not going anywhere. But there were just a few. If you were making them as a normal free transfer, you would see them as a sideways step. But the sweeping changes I've made, I really do believe will make the rest of the squad improve. And I want to kick on. So I got a lot of green arrows in general for game week 3. You can see 58 points. Which wasn't too bad at all, but there's just a few players in there that I really want to change around for the long term. Now the fixtures have changed and I've got ideas on some forms, and I'll show you the wildcard team that I've currently got right now. So green arrows up, we're up to about 344,000, and that's really not too bad at all. To be honest, anything inside the top 1.52 million at this stage is perfectly fine. It's still auto play for. If you have a look online, you can track your points and whether or not, or how close you are to certain milestones, and you'll notice that, you know, there's probably 10 points and I'll go up another 150k. So don't worry too much about your rank at the minute. But the reason why I wanted to play my wildcard is because the new team that I've currently got is what I feel a lot more comfortable with. I'm playing this game for fun, and I want to look at the players and watch the players that I actually do enjoy watching. I would have said that in the past, I said if you're going to take a hit, it should postpone, push back your wild card. But the transfers that I did bring in, being Pukki, De Bruyne and Ceballos, of course Ceballos I wasn't expecting a lot, but De Bruyne and Pukki's points leave me in a positive. So even though it cost me 4 points to get those 3 players in, I got 18 points, so I got a profit of 14 points, so it was still worth it for me in the end to do that. So I'll just pop over now and have a look at the team that I currently have in my wildcard squad build-up, and you'll see if you can notice any differences first. So as you can see, this is the team that I'm currently going to be starting the rest of the season with until the next wildcard. Of course, there's transfers every week, but I won't start building them up. And I'll give you my reasons why I made those transfers. You can see a little piece of paper here. I started to make columns on when players were good or easy fixtures, difficult fixtures. I had even thought of saying, hey, why don't we go 4.5 or 4 million defenders and let's go real big in midfield and up front, but it just didn't feel right. So the normal template is your 6.57 million defender. If you've got 3 at the back, 6.5 to 7 million defender, about a 5.5 million defender, and then your last one could be 4.5. But mine's just a little bit different. I'll talk about the players that have gone out and the ones that have come in. So first of all, Jota for Barnes, pretty simple form and fixture from game week 5 for Barnes. Don't worry, I'm not completely so. Even though the stats for Barnes are incredible, I believe in 2019 he scored more goals than Raheem Sterling. So just to give you that stat there is pretty crazy. He's got a great conversion rate. He's in really good form right now. So him and Pukki up front, I don't think is too bad. Every time now recently, I don't feel that big strikers are paying off. We just saw Kane go bust against Newcastle, but I just feel that the points that the strikers earn, unless you've got Aguero, really aren't worth the prices that they are. So Jota out, Barnes in, pretty straightforward. I did have Anthony Martial. I made that free transfer, but he's not in right now. Lanzini's in. And I've been saying Lanzini for quite a while, and I think now it's the time to sort of put my money where my mouth is and put him into my side. I think that he's got 2 assists already this season. West Ham have a great fixture run right now, the top of the fixture ticker, and it felt like he was a better move than Sigurdsson / Martial. Martial's got a bit of an injury. Ideally, yes, I would like Martial, but this setup lets me have my two defenders, which I'm going to talk about now, and that is Diop out, Emerson in. So I said West Ham have got great fixtures, but you cannot trust them in defence. Diop has done nothing except sit on my bench for the first 3 game weeks because I just don't trust him to put in. And if there's a player in your team that you don't trust to put in, they shouldn't be in your squad. And if I ever had, so Diop would have been playing this week. They're at home to Norwich, and I always just feel like West Ham could concede. So I wanted to get away from that, and that allowed me to upgrade Diop to Emerson, who has actually posted some of the best stats. Yet he's only scored 3 points this season because of clean sheets. But a lot of big clubs have had terrible clean sheet records so far this season. We know people ditching double Liverpool defense. Even Man City are not really keeping clean sheets this season. So I only think it's a matter of time. Chelsea's fixtures are turning around, but again, it's his attacking stats which are incredible. Touches and shots in the opposition half and the opposition penalty area are right up there. And if you can just see the fixture ticker now, you can see all the way now really from 14 to Christmas, even beyond mid-January, it's not looking that bad for Chelsea. But if he can keep posting those high attacking stats, it's only a matter of time before he returns something. And at 2.4% ownership, I want to find a few more differentials and sort of start to now stray away from the Twitter or Wildcard template that a lot of people are talking about. Another change, people might see it sideways. So again, I didn't want to do it during a free transfer, but I wanted to do it in the wildcard. It's TAA for Robertson. It's not because Robertson is sort of just getting 2 points at the minute and TAA is still getting assists. He's on corners. So right now with Salah and TAA, I have both corner takers for Liverpool, both set piece takers for Liverpool, who are either shooting or crossing the ball to Matip or Gomez if he's playing, or Virgil van Dijk. And for me, that adds danger. And TAA just spends most of his time. I'm not saying he's a great defender. He is a fantastic win back. And as an FPL asset, he will be the top scorer, I think, for defenders this year. So I want to get him in as quickly as I can now. Liverpool have a couple good fixtures. Burnley, Newcastle, I believe, are the next 2. That's right, Burnley, Newcastle. Chelsea away could easily get something there. Sheffield United, Leicester, it doesn't matter who he's against. I think TAA is going to be the highest scoring defender this season. So I wanted to bring him in instead of Robertson. I still think Robertson will be fantastic, but I think points per match, TAA is going to be the top dog again. I also swapped out Rico for Lundstram. Now, this is a unfortunate timing in a way because I had Rico for the start because I knew he was going to start the season. But then he immediately lost his place from game week 2. But he could actually come back with the injury to Charlie Daniels. But it's another risk I don't want to take. Lundstram has been extraordinary for people this season. But as a benchman, a 4 million benchman, that's basically playing centre midfield for Sheffield United. Granted, I'm not going to play him very often, but I do feel that if I was going to choose between Rico and Lundstram, while I'm doing a wild card, Lundstram is the man for me. Dunk out and Soyuncu in. So Leicester just have a sturdy defence. Dunk had a great game week 1, but with the way Potter plays at Brighton, I'm just not going to see many clean sheets from Dunk this season. But I'm not even thinking of starting him. It would be TAA, Dean and Emerson, but then Ceballos and Soyuncu could change to a 4-4-2, 3-5-2 formation, depending on fixtures. But when their fixtures get a little better, maybe he'll force himself into the side. But and this is the thing that I'll always suggest, when you're doing a wild card, you must add depth. So when you start the season, you had 11 players that were going to start, and maybe your first sub was going to play. But now when you're using your big wildcard chip, you cannot make sweeping changes without a huge points deduction. You must have some depth on your squad. If I were playing 4-5-1 with just Pookie up front and had a 4.5 million Greenwood and a 4.5 million Wickham, and you're using it on a wild card, you could find yourself in 5, 10, 12, 15 game weeks with a huge task on your hand to fix that problem. But with the layout that this will give me, this will make Soyuncu and Lundstram 2 subs, and then Greenwood, who's still getting the odd minutes, as my 3rd sub. And that means I've got a full squad minus my goalkeeper. that will play. So that is another change. Moving on to that, and that is the final change I'll talk about, and it's Pope in for Ryan. Again, I don't see a lot of clean sheets coming for Brighton this year. Burnley are back to looking like that stubborn, strong defensive side, and after the Liverpool game, they have a pretty decent set of runs for the next 9 to 10 game weeks or so. So they are the changes I've made right now. Like I said, a lot of the big boys are still there. I've still got Salah, still got Sterling, still got De Bruyne, still got Pukki, TAA for Robertson. It was just a little change that I felt like my big boys are performing. They are getting me the points, but I felt like the support cast, so to speak, could be a lot better. And when I was looking at making transfers, every week I like to make like a wild card squad template, and I made this one, and I just had a look, and it's 7 changes, and I just thought all 7 changes improve my team, and that is what essentially pushed me over the edge as to why I should get a wildcard. That rising prices as well. A lot of people said that even though they played the wildcard last week and it failed, I saw a lot of negativity from people who played their wildcard, a lot of low scores, but they're still happy because the squad that they have now has potential until the next wildcard, and also they could not afford the squad that they have now if they didn't wildcard last week. So I'm worried that if I leave my wildcard now for 3, 4, 5, 6 game weeks, when I get to that 6th game week, I'm not going to be able to afford this squad, just like I can't afford last week's wildcard squad because now the prices have risen. So this is what I'm going to go with for now. It might change at the end. I would love to somehow fit Sergio Aguero in here, but if I'm going to fit Aguero in here, maybe Salah has to go. So something I might do is swap Salah for Aguero, but leave enough money that in 2 weeks I'm able to switch them back. I don't really want to leave Mohamed Salah, but just I've always had Aguero. He looks in hot form. He takes penalties for City. He is the key man at City, and when Jesus is nowhere to be around, he'll play, and if Sergio Aguero gets 90 minutes under his belt, he's probably going to bag you at least a brace. He is absolute point magnet machine. I love Sergio Aguero, but I just think it'll be too detrimental to the rest of my team. But let me know in the comments below what you think about that. Also a reminder as well, I'm hoping to still do a Friday lunchtime stream, and it was great. I had a few more people join last week, so the more the merrier. Hopefully you guys can join me. So for now though, let's have a look at what I predicted last game week 3 and the players who I think you should pick, avoid, or take a risk on for game week 4. Having a look at my predictions last week, again, it wasn't too bad. So I did suggest that unless you really needed it to avoid the wildcard, and it seems like a lot of people suffered from playing a wildcard. But like I mentioned before, I think long term they'll be happy about it. I'm not saying that they've made a terrible decision, but that's just the way that FPL is. Sometimes you do need that little bit of luck. Zaha, even though Palace got a fantastic 2-1 win, late winner at Old Trafford, Zaha only earned 1 point in that game. And Grealish, similar sort of story, a great 2-0 victory at home to Everton, but he only picked up 3 points. So they were the correct calls on the ones to avoid. Ones to pick, however, is a little bit different. Kevin De Bruyne managed to just get assist. He was a bit lucky on that assist, if I'm honest, but he also almost scored. He should have started away in the second half, but he didn't. But again, as long as he's ticking over, he's now got 7 points, 11 points, and 5 points in the first 3 game weeks. And if he can stay fit, he will be a 200-point player. For now, 9.7 million. But it was a bust on the other 2 players. Wan-Bissaka, again, in that Manchester United Crystal Palace fixture, unbelievable at the back again. Where are the clean sheets this season? Wan-Bissaka is still the joint best performing defender with Maguire and Luke Shaw, who's set to be on the sidelines for a while, but he picked up 0 points against Crystal Palace. And then Harry Kane, a lot of people brought him in from the start of the season, eyeing up this Newcastle fixture. A lot of people brought Kane in because of this Newcastle fixture after Pukki banged in a hat-trick against what people thought was the leakiest defense in the league so far. And what does he go and do? He gets 2 points. No goals for Spurs. They look all over the place. In the stream I had on Friday, I had mentioned when people saying, why are you not talking about Spurs? Why is there nothing about Tottenham Hotspur? I just said there's just nothing about them right now. They look all out of sorts. Vertonghen on the bench with a black eye. Eriksen, will he stay? Will he go? Will he even play? Son just coming back into the side. No competitive match fitness there yet. The Ndombele was out injured. They just look all over the place. Would not suggest picking Harry Kane usually, but pre-game Harry Kane was not a crazy shout. He did get 2 goals against Aston Villa, an unsurprising blank away to Manchester City, but that was bad. And also I had one of my friends as well in my personal league, and he actually triple captained Harry Kane for that one. So that is doubly terrible for him this week. Played to risk. I don't think it's as bad as it looks. So Martial did manage to pick up another assist before he picked up an injury. Heung-min Son is a no because, speaking about Spurs, he didn't deliver. I did say that it was a big risk for Son if he was going to play. He did play 90 minutes, but he's still not that sharp. But like I said, there are problems at Spurs that we can't quite put our fingers on. We can see the thing that I'm going to debate here is Trossard. Trossard did blank in that game with Brighton and Southampton in that loss. However, Trossard created the most chances of any player in game week 3, even though they lost 2-0. Now, let's not forget that Andone did a horrific tackle to get a red card early on. So obviously when that happens, that can skew a team's formation and their approach to the game. Had it been 11-11, it could have been a different story. But even though Brighton were down to 10 men early on, they lost 2-0 against Southampton at home. He still provided the most chances of any player in the game week. So again, and he's got less than 1%. He's on 0.9% ownership, 6 million his cost. I wouldn't suggest him for this week. Brighton are away to Manchester City. But again, he is posting good stats. He is looking exciting. And at 6 million, he is not too bad at all. So let's move on to the players for game week 4. Players to avoid. I am going to say Watford. Leave Watford assets alone right now. They are looking awful in every aspect. They are not doing anything really in attack. They've scored 1 goal in 3 games. Deulofeu is getting close. He looked really unlucky. He did rattle the bar, but Deeney's out injured. There's no clean sheets on the board. They are looking really, really shaky at the minute. 7 goals conceded in 3 games. They even conceded against Everton, and Everton cannot seem to buy a goal at the moment right now. So I would just definitely be suggesting to avoid any Watford players. Even though they do have Newcastle away this week, they could get something in that, but then it's at home to Arsenal, away to Manchester City, and away to Wolves, so I'd be steering clear of Watford for a while. Also, players to avoid, or I'm going to say match to avoid here, and that is Everton against Wolves. Now, the reason why I think it's pretty obvious, Everton can't really buy a goal and might concede the odd one. Wolves are in a similar situation. 0-0 game week 1, 1-1 game week 2, 1-1 game week 3. I just feel that this game has 1-1 written all over it. Wolves getting tired being in Europe. Everton, they just cannot find the net. So I just feel that there's not going to be a lot going on in this game. I think it's going to not end up in clean sheets for the players, and it's not going to end up with like a Jimenez hat trick or a Gylfi Sigurdsson brace. So it just feels like this fixture is one to avoid for this week. Players to pick, got to go Raheem Sterling. Brighton have had a decent start to the season, but they are looking like a more attacking outfit. A little bit like West Ham. West Ham got battered at home to Manchester City, but they didn't change their approach. They wanted to practice playing this nice attacking football. Brighton have been playing some nice attacking football, and if they don't park the bus like Bournemouth tried to do, then I think Man City is going to pick them apart, and I don't think that Brighton have the defence or any defensive cover, like a defensive midfielder, that could protect them from this Manchester City side. I think this Manchester City side is going to win the league again, despite not picking up full points at the moment. I do feel like it's going to be Manchester City's season, and Raheem Sterling, I think, is going to be leading the way. Again, I'll bring up Aguero in this. If you had Aguero and Raheem Sterling as a huge differential, I might have myself captained Sergio Aguero with 46% ownership. Raheem Sterling, and I do not doubt he's going to top the captaincy chart of the week. But if you did, I wouldn't necessarily go Kevin De Bruyne over Sterling, but I would go Sergio Aguero over Sterling. I'm also going to suggest Aubameyang. He had a great time against Arsenal last season. He's in pretty good form right now. He's got 2 goals and 1 assist in 3 games. So he's got 6, 6, and 5 so far this season. And again, with those big problems that Spurs are having right now, I would not bet against this man. And another one to pick, Jamie Vardy. He's off the mark now at Leicester. He finally got a goal against his rivals, his personal rivals, Sheffield United. But he's against a Bournemouth side who do nothing but leak big chances. So I would not be surprised at home if Jamie Vardy can do some damage against that Bournemouth defence. Moving on into my place to risk now, you can see Barnes. He's still only on 9.2% ownership. He has got 4 goals in 3 games. He did score against Arsenal. He scored against Wolves. He scored 2 against Southampton. The reason why he's to risk, because he's still only 6.6 million. A lot of people have been talking about Pukki and no one's talking about Barnes, but the underlying stats for Barnes and Pukki are extremely similar. Also, Barnes is the 2nd highest scoring forward so far this season. I personally would be looking at a Pukki-Barnes partnership, but not just because they have Liverpool at home. I think Burnley, going to Turf Moor is not easy, but Burnley after game week 4, they've got Brighton, Norwich, Villa, Everton in the next few game weeks, and I do think they're all games where Barnes has potential to pick up some goals or maybe an assist. Moving on to players of risk, and it's another player that brought him to the side, and that is Lanzini. He's picked up 2 assists in 3 games, but when I look at stats or when I look at fixtures, I sort of do take out the Liverpool and Manchester City one. So if you take out the Manchester City demolition in game week 1, because Man City are going to, demolish most of the sides in the Premier League, Lanzini's got 2 assists in 2 games, and he has got 3 bonus points in that 1-1 draw in game week 2 against Brighton, and he just looks the most dangerous. I was reading an article from a Watford fan who was watching the West Ham Watford game this weekend, and even though Haller, the French forward, scored a brace against Watford, the fans were saying that actually Lanzini was the best player on the pitch. I do think he's got fantastic talent. The only issue that you really have with Lanzini is that injury record. But for me, is that's the same situation that is with De Bruyne. That's why I didn't start the season with him. I wanted to see De Bruyne. I wanted to see Lanzini with some games under the belts. And Lanzini so far played 90 minutes, and 87 minutes. So I do think he's going to be a good choice. Speaking of good choices, last one to maybe take a risk on. It looks like Tammy Abraham is going to be the nailed-on forward for Chelsea. He got a brace against Norwich. I don't think you can drop a striker who just bagged a brace. I'm thinking that he is Lampard's chosen man. So again, I mentioned about Emerson in my personal side. The fixtures are there for Abraham to pick up some goals now. Sheffield United at home, Wolves away and Liverpool at home are not ideal in the next 2 game weeks. But then you've got Brighton, Southampton, Newcastle, Burnley, Watford, Palace. So all the way to game week 12. Chelsea and Abraham, if he plays, would be a good option because you're getting a 7.1 million forward for a top 8 side. I'm going to say top 8 with Chelsea at the minute. They've not done a lot to sort of prove they're going to be a top 4 team, but then again, they're not actually that far behind in the Premier League table. So that's going to be it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and you found some parts useful. Let me know in the comments below who you would avoid, pick, and take a risk on for this game week. Do you think the wildcard was a good idea or a bad idea? What do you make of my wildcard side? Hopefully I'll see you guys at the lunchtime stream, or just after lunchtime, maybe about 1 p.m. UK time, that's GMT. Hopefully I'll see you on the stream there and we can chat about the wild card and talk about your plans for your transfers and what you're looking forward to for the weekend fixtures. Thanks a lot again for watching, and as always, have a good one.